It may seem odd, but bear with me for a while. What if the key to getting her to care more was really to care less? Imagine a man who is steady, grounded, and confident in his own worth, whether or not he receives attention. That's the kind of man who piques curiosity and earns deeper affection. In today's video, we're delving into one of the most fascinating paradoxes in relationships: why a woman frequently needs you to not care in order to love you. I'll share with you how mastering this mindset and understanding the art of genuine balanced indifference can change not only your dating life, but also your perception of yourself. You'll understand why women naturally gravitate towards guys. They exude a serene confidence in their completeness, regardless of whether they attract attention or not. Come learn how Stoic emotional independence can make you a man who commands attention and commands it. We'll explore why genuine attraction begins when you stop trying so hard. One of the paradoxes we encounter is the paradox of apathy. Pay close attention, because what I'm going to share may seem contradictory and even unsettling, but believe me, it's one of the most enlightening revelations regarding attraction and relationships. It's a paradox, isn't it, that society and the media have conditioned us to believe that unrelenting pursuit and unending devotion are the keys to a woman's heart. But reality shows otherwise. Women need you to not care, at least not in the way you might think, for them to truly love or even like you. When you put your sense of value in her hands, you become a mere echo of her choices and feelings. This is not about being cold or heartless. Rather, it's about realizing and embracing a powerful truth of attraction. Let me give an example. Picture two men. More you lean in and chase, less your value grows. Which man, in your opinion, arouses greater curiosity, admiration, and genuine attraction? One man is always available, responding to every text within seconds, and adapting his life to suit her needs without hesitation. The other is a man who respects himself, doesn't fear silence, and can say no when necessary. He conveys that his light doesn't revolve around her, and that he is in control of his own happiness. Therefore, without a doubt, he is the second one. Males who radiate implicit confidence tend to attract women. You become someone worth knowing and worth loving when you demonstrate that you're unaffected by every emotional wave and that you're not frantically seeking approval. This is where applying some Stoic wisdom can be beneficial. Men who are whole with or without their attention must understand that this isn't about playing games or using manipulative tactics. Rather, it's about exhibiting self-respect. Epicurus famously remarked that what matters is not what occurs to you, but rather how you respond to it. Remember this every day. You are the protector of your own serenity. You are the only one who can control your emotions. And a calm person in a crisis is beautiful. Consider this paradox of indifference as a boundary that says, I value you, but I value myself too. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, respond to this balance because it tells them that, even though you care about them, you are independent, have interests, passions, and an inner world that flourishes whether or not she returns your attention at that particular moment. Here's another example to illustrate this point. Let's say you're dating someone and she starts to distance herself. Your natural response might be to try harder to find out why, but here's the twist. Taking a step back, making room, and not responding out of fear of losing conveys a deep meaning and demonstrates that your emotional stability is independent of her. This space and stillness have the capacity to convey a message more potently than 1,000 words or imposing actions. You invite her to care more and wonder what she will miss when you realize that the other person is not yours by default and outside your control. Isn't that the heart of attraction? Take this paradox to heart, not to act detached or indifferent as a facade, but to genuinely find peace in your own worth by caring. Because I need to be here, I choose not to be. Just enough. By not basing everything on getting her approval, you set the stage for a genuine, deep connection with Blossom, and that's where true love starts. The second myth-busting modern dating strategy. Though there is some truth to the notion that confidence is attractive, let's dispel some dating myths today that may be preventing you from moving forward in the dating game without you even realizing it. You've undoubtedly heard repeatedly that women want a strong, masculine leader who establishes clear expectations, knows what he wants, and pursues it relentlessly. What might surprise you is that when your attention shifts from genuine interest to excessive investment, it sends a message that could lead her to question your worth. This is because excessive caring, which manifests as constant checking in, too much availability, or an eagerness that verges on desperation, tells her, either consciously or subconsciously, that you're not as valuable as her other options. You may believe that demonstrating interest is the most effective way to win her heart, but in today's dating culture, perception is crucial. If she notices that you're overly eager, it could be interpreted as a lack of confidence or an indication that you're out of options. Think about the Stoic idea of emotional detachment. It's not about being aloof or walled off. Rather, it's about preserving equilibrium so that you are emotionally strong and unaffected by criticism from others. Imagine a situation where you're dating someone new and everything is going well, but then she starts to withdraw. It's natural to want to show her how much you care, but Stoic wisdom comes in. As Seneca once noted, we suffer more in our imagination than in reality because we fear losing her, and your attempt to make up for it by putting in more work only makes you seem less confident in your value. Instead, realize this: when you focus, you can change the dynamic by focusing on yourself rather than her. You're actually working on your inner calm and self-assurance, not just being aloof. When a man is content with himself and his happiness isn't dependent on their reaction, women can sense this subtle energy. Now let's talk about how caring too much might backfire. Imagine sending her good morning texts all the time, complimenting her and making sure she knows how interested you are. Although this may seem kind and considerate, it could also mean that you don't think you're competent enough as you are, and that you need to work hard to prove yourself. Stoicism emphasizes that your sense of value should never be based on the acceptance or opinions of others. A man who pursues his own interests and doesn't fear silence, exudes confidence and doesn't overachieve because he understands he doesn't need to. Demonstrating that your emotional state is independent of someone's actions or responses demonstrates strength, a strength that subtly yet unmistakably commands respect, a strength that can negatively impact your dating prospects. Epicurus asserted that to enhance your skills, embrace the perception of being foolish and stupid. This doesn't imply reckless or arrogant behavior. Rather, it signifies a contentment with your perception. The confidence that draws and sustains her interest stems from preserving your emotional boundaries and showcasing your unwavering life, purpose, and self-respect. Number 3. Understanding. Knowing the difference between interest and attraction. Let me explain something that may contradict your assumptions, but may change the way you view relationships. The more you publicly express your concern for others, the less appealing you may appear. I understand that this may sound harsh or even perplexing, especially considering the prevalent belief that being outspoken is a sign of strength. But the truth is that many guys actually exhibit this behavior. It's not because they're playing games. Rather, it's because human nature, especially attraction, follows certain patterns, and knowing these patterns can make all the difference. overlook women are highly perceptive when it comes to assessing the balance of interest and attraction in a relationship. They can detect when the dynamics shift when you're exerting too much effort. When someone you really like texts you, you type back with a smile on your face before the notification has even finished vibrating. You enthusiastically continue the talk and make plans. Checking in with her frequently to see how she's doing makes you feel like you're being attentive and caring, but you're actually tipping the scales with every eager text and attempt to maintain the spark, telling her, consciously or unconsciously, that you're investing far more in her than she is in you. Your genuine concern may make it seem like you have no other options and that your world revolves around her. The goal here is to maintain your self-respect and consequently your beauty, rather than playing hard to get or hiding your interest. True attraction develops when a man exudes mystery and an unspoken confidence that says, "I like you, but I'm not dependent on you." Now, I'm not saying you should be cold or distant. This isn't about acting haughty or uninterested. Rather, it's about finding the ideal balance where she knows you're interested but not consumed. An undeniably attractive aura emanates from a man who respects himself and his time, and he's unafraid of losing her because he recognizes that his value is not contingent on her approval or attention. Here's a more relatable analogy. Consider attraction as a dance. If you move forward every time without waiting for her to follow suit, you're no longer dancing with her. Instead, you're leading too aggressively, and the rhythm is off. Attraction requires space to develop, and space doesn't imply disinterest. Rather, it means respecting the flow. In real life, this means not answering every message right away and not going above and beyond for every plan. This involves adapting to changes and not seeking approval from her responses. It's about making sure that when you show up, you come across as someone who is present and involved, but whose life is full with or without her. Women don't need a man who constantly proves his worth. Instead, they need a man whose worth speaks for itself. He should not rush to fill every void with praise or assurances. He should not fear silence, and he should project an unquestionable strength that draws her in and keeps her coming back for more. Refocus and keep in mind that genuine appeal comes from how much you value yourself while caring about number 4, not from how much you care. The mental. This study examines the psychological impact of emotional detachment. Have you ever wondered why women appear to find the most intriguing males who don't run after them, don't check in all the time, or don't try to beg? Here's the answer. It all comes down to the psychological effects of emotional detachment. Before you assume that this is about being distant or cold, allow me to clarify what emotional detachment actually means in the context of attraction and why it works so effectively. Not being available or eager to please makes you more mysterious and doesn't show you care about details. She finds herself drawn to solving a project or solving a conundrum, which reaches a fundamental level of attraction. In a day where attention is as cheap as a like or a heart on social media, the thrill of the chase is the drive to win over someone who isn't readily impressed or influenced. Think about a scenario where you're on a date and she's telling you a story that doesn't quite pique your interest. Many people have the natural tendency to overcompensate by giving her excessive attention and laughing at every joke in an attempt to make her feel positive and liked. But what if you listen intently without going overboard? You nod and give considerate answers when necessary, but you don't come across as overly forced, so she begins to question whether I actually made him laugh or if he finds me that amusing. This subtle intrigue works in your advantage because you're sincere and not uninterested, which piques her interest in you. When she sees that you're not waiting for her approval or making every decision based on whether it will please her, it demonstrates that you have a life, a purpose, and an identity that are separate from her approval. This is appealing because it shows that you're someone worth winning over rather than someone who has already won. Men who have mastered the art of composure and can express interest without making it seem as if their entire world hinges on her response tend to attract women. People are wired to value what is provided too freely and without discretion, whether consciously or unconsciously, which is why this works so well. People often take your attention for granted. They need to earn it. To put it another way, the more she feels she needs to work to earn your full attention, the more she cherishes the moments when she succeeds. Now, let's discuss the subtle art of detachment itself. It's not about playing games or being indifferent. Instead, it's about genuinely understanding that your worth isn't based on her attraction to you and applying the Stoic principle of self-control to your dating life. This is controlling your own feelings and responses. Regardless of her apparent eagerness or distance, maintaining your composure shows that you don't require her approval to feel complete. And that, my friend, is what makes a person appealing. Consider the times when she tries to test your patience by sending you ambiguous messages, late replies, or a hint of disinterest. The emotionally detached man handles these situations with ease. Instead of bombarding her with follow-up texts or attempting to coerce an explanation, he goes about his day satisfied with his own pursuits. This portrays him as powerful, self-assured, and secure, rather than needy or reactive. His energy leaves her wondering why he doesn't feel the same way other people do. What in him ultimately makes him so centered? Emotional detachment is about demonstrating that even though you care, you don't over-invest. Being able to leave if necessary is not a strategy. Rather, it is a sign that you truly value yourself. Women need that subtle challenge because it draws them in and demonstrates to them that you are a man who creates your own attention rather than merely accepting it. Your progress suggests your commitment to understanding the intricate dynamics of attraction and self-control. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever engaged in emotional detachment and seen how it affected your interpersonal relationships? Simply type emotional detachment or leave a comment with your experiences. It's powerful. I'm eager to read your thoughts, so let's carry on with this voyage together. Number 5. Dispelling the myth of the pushover. The question is, does adopting emotional detachment make you a pushover? Let's examine this fallacy. Indeed, this is a common misconception. The secret to comprehending why women require your lack of concern in order to genuinely love you is to distinguish between being a doormat and being indifferent in a healthy manner. These two strategies couldn't be more dissimilar. Consider it. Being indifferent is about keeping yourself to your own standards and not looking to her reactions for validation. It doesn't imply you lack principles or limits, that you allow people to walk all over you, or that you don't care about the relationship or the person. Recognizing that your worth isn't based on others' opinions. It's difficult to overlook the confidence in your quiet strength, and surprisingly, women gravitate towards this self-assurance, as it demonstrates that you're not just another man vying for their approval. Imagine this. You're dating someone new, and she makes a joke about you, expecting you to laugh nervously or rush to defend yourself. A man who lacks this inner confidence might go overboard trying to prove that he's in on the joke or seek her reassurance that she's joking. Detachment isn't required to answer in that manner. He can respond with humorous banter, a knowingly shrug or a smile. His self-concept remains intact. The solution is simpler than you might think. It starts with understanding that it's okay to say no at times, to establish your own priorities, and not to rearrange them based on every whim. When you stand your ground, you're subtly telling her that you value her, but you also value yourself. This subtle response during the moment of teasing shows that he's secure, and can hold his own without seeking her validation. She notices that it sets him apart. This is quite alluring, as it demonstrates that you are a man of high standards. Cultivate awe and respect. Here's another thing to think about emotionally. When things don't go as planned, whether she pulls back a little to test your patience or acts unsure, you don't flinch and feel the need to rush for her attention or seek reassurance. Instead, you respond calmly and stay true to who you are. Being detached doesn't mean being emotionally unavailable. It means being steady and unfazed by the ups and downs that come with getting to know someone. You're not being a pushover. You're demonstrating that your self-worth is unwavering. According to Marcus Aurelius, it's not about having too little, but about the man who constantly seeks her approval or goes above and beyond to demonstrate his care, which aligns with the Stoic principle that true confidence originates from within. The next time you're wondering if being less concerned means you're being indifferent, remember that it's about holding yourself to your own standards and valuing her without sacrificing your own self-respect. When you embody this balance, you'll find that women are more likely to be interested in investing and to value what you bring to the table. That, my friends, is what changes. Men who can stand their ground with kindness and self-assurance without the need for external affirmations naturally attract women. The sixth modern challenge game in contemporary difficulties in dating for once. Let's face it, dating isn't what it was in 2024. With social media dating applications and the appearance of limitless options at our fingertips, the scene has fundamentally transformed. The traditional notion of being a doting, always available romantic has lost its impact due to this shift. Most guys these days are busy trying to prove they're the perfect catch by texting frequently, starting conversations, and checking in to make sure everything is going well. However, the paradox is that the more you do this, the more you blend in with every other guy out there. Trying too hard can come across as desperate in a world where attention is cheap and easily accessible. Women, whether aware of this or not, pick up on it, and it affects how they perceive your value. How often have you witnessed or experienced the cycle where someone's intense initial interest fades out just as quickly as it began? It's not because caring is wrong, rather it's because caring too much too soon is seen as overinvestment. It communicates that you're putting her on a pedestal and focusing your actions around winning her approval. I'll give you an example to help you understand this image. Two men are using dating apps. One of the men replies with a paragraph-long message expressing his admiration for her profile, mentioning a shared interest, and concluding with a question that clearly indicates he has given it some thought. The other guy sends a straightforward, assured message like, "Hey, I see you're into hiking. What's your go-to trail?" You can probably guess which one will receive a response more often. The latter, because it shows he's interested without being overly invested and doesn't rush to please or anxiously seek validation. There is a thin line between demonstrating interest and demonstrating your emotional investment before it is justified, but that is not to imply you shouldn't show interest or be a good person who isn't negotiable. Women are able to discern whether a man acts out of a need for approbation as opposed to sincere trust. Given the modern expectations on men, social media is filled with influencers sharing pictures. Perfect partnerships set unrealistic expectations. Dating apps create the impression that there is always someone new around the corner, which encourages a culture of disposability in such an environment. It's simple to succumb to the temptation of overextending yourself in an attempt to stand out. You send texts that are too long, follow up too quickly, and make yourself too available in the hopes that she will see how serious you are. But in reality, it just shows her that you're trying to convince her of your value. If she doesn't respond right away, don't flinch. If plans change or she seems distant, Don't rush to fill the silence with nervous texts. Stay calm because you know who you are and what you bring to the table. When you demonstrate that you're not desperate for her attention, women should perceive your interest as earned rather than assumed. This subtle difference makes her wonder what you're doing and even why you're not clamoring for her attention like everyone else. It's not manipulation. Rather, it's respect for yourself and your boundaries. When everyone is fighting for her attention and approval in this day and age of dating, show that you're interested and open without trying to get it. When she realizes that you're not just another man looking for her approval, but that you value yourself enough to allow her to approach him, that's when real attraction starts. If you adopt this strategy, you'll not only stand out, but also create the space for genuine interest to emerge spontaneously. Number 7. The art of genuine indifference. The art of being truly uninterested. I have a question for you. How do you exhibit the elusive quality of genuine indifference that keeps her interested without coming across as distant or disinterested? The answer is in developing the mindset that says, when I see you, I see you. When I don't, I don't. This isn't about being cold, rude, or manipulative. Instead, it's about focusing on your own life, ensuring that her presence or absence doesn't control your happiness or behavior. Consider how many times you felt compelled to call Che just to make sure she's still interested. When she's not around, you can find yourself sending that text message every morning without fail, or saying how much you miss her all the time. These actions, while well-meaning, might occasionally be an indication that you're getting too attached too quickly. Contrary to popular belief, showing her that you're always thinking about her reduces her time with you. So, how does true indifference actually look in real life? It begins with changing your perspective. Focus on living life to the fullest, whether she is in it every day or not. Pursue your interests, find time for friends, dive into your passions, and invest in your own development. When you do this, your attention becomes valuable. You are no longer the guy who constantly rearranges his schedule or waits for her to respond. Instead, you become someone she has to think about, whose time and attention feel earned rather than freely given without conditions. Take this example. The typical response when you're seeing someone and she seems a little busy or distant for a few days is to check in frequently, send her numerous texts, or even just say that you miss her in order to feel connected. However, the man who practices genuine indifference reacts differently. Instead of acting rashly or bombarding her with messages, he stays present in his own life, trusts that she will reconnect if she wants to, and concentrates on what's in front of him. This isn't a game. Rather, it's a strategy based on self-respect and self-assurance. The strength of this mindset lies in the messages it conveys, such as not reacting too strongly to her actions or constantly expressing your emotions. You value yourself and your time, and she sees that you enjoy her company but don't need it to feel fulfilled. She starts to wonder why you don't check in more, what you're doing when you're not with her, and what gives you elegance and confidence. One of the greatest things about exhibiting true indifference is that it is entirely consistent with Stoic wisdom, which holds that we have no control over other people's behavior, other than how we react to it. According to Marcus Aurelius, you control your thoughts, not external circumstances. Understanding this will give you power when you focus on your behavior, attitude, and mental health rather than trying to change someone else's feelings or thoughts about you. This does not imply that you should never show attention or affection. Being truly indifferent means striking a balance between your interests and your independence, not just acting as though you don't care. Telling her that you're glad to see her or that you had a wonderful time together is totally okay, but you shouldn't repeatedly remind her that letting her miss you isn't a technique. It's a necessary component of a healthy relationship. dynamics occur when you avoid focusing all of your attention on her. You're giving her room to wonder, to miss, and to consider what makes you unique. The more you adopt this approach, the more you'll sense a shift in the dynamic. You'll feel less reactive and nervous. Being more emotionally in control of yourself will make her realize that you're not like other people who only give her their time and attention, and she'll begin to respect you more. Remind yourself of the power of genuine indifference and live by the mantra, when I see you, I see you. When I don't, I don't. This mindset isn't a tactic, rather it's a way of thinking that puts you in control of your happiness and frees you from overanalyzing. The result is that you become someone who commands attention instead of just drawing it, and that's when genuine attraction begins to develop into something significant. Number 8. Mastering the balance. Let's get right to the point. Women need you to seem indifferent so they can emotionally invest in you. This may seem distant or chilly at first, but it's really about comprehending the natural dynamics of attraction and emotional investment. Finding this balance makes you knowledgeable, self-assured, and very appealing. If you stop worrying about her approval and focus on your goals, you become more attractive. Your desires and well-being create a magnetic attraction, transforming you into a man who remains unaffected by the waves of external approval. This trait is not only desirable, but also deserving of respect, as it demonstrates that your path, rather than the attention you receive, defines you. Imagine a situation where you're dating someone and everything is going well. She's interested, but like everyone else, she's also watching how you treat yourself. Even though caring isn't always a bad thing, she often overlooks men who try too hard to show their care through constant check-ins, excessive texting, and an overbearing need to make her feel valued. Caring without balance tells her that you're putting your emotional equilibrium in her hands, which feels more suffocating than flattering. Consider the man who truly doesn't care as much, not in a condescending way, but rather in a confident way. He doesn't seek approval because he is aware of his contributions, and while he pays attention when they are together, he doesn't need constant reassurance when they are apart. This man puts his goals first, pursues his passions, and doesn't hesitate to take time for himself. What does this do? She becomes inquisitive about his calm demeanor, his areas of focus, and what distinguishes him from other individuals vying for her attention. This mindset isn't just helpful for dating, it permeates every aspect of life. When you're not dependent on other people's opinions, you can overcome obstacles with fortitude and become someone who is guided by internal conviction rather than external praise. This is the source of genuine confidence and what distinguishes you as a man capable of managing the unpredictability of life. One of the most important things to learn from Stoic philosophy is that real power comes from being resilient and unfazed by outside influences. Epicurus once asserted that the only worthwhile objective in life is freedom, attainable only by disregarding circumstances beyond our control. This statement directly relates to relationships. When you embrace this idea and learn to perfect the balance, you can manage how you portray yourself and how much emphasis you place on other people's approval, even while you cannot control how others feel about you or react to your efforts. Something significant occurs. The ultimate takeaway is to detach from the need to prove yourself, but not to overinvest in things. Women start to feel free to invest emotionally because they aren't overwhelmed by your constant pursuit or the pressure of being the center of your world. Instead, they find themselves intrigued and wonder why you're so confident and what keeps you so centered. It's in this space that genuine attraction grows, when she realizes she wants to earn your attention rather than just receive it by default. A man who commands respect and admiration is beyond his control and That is what makes a relationship last, my friends. I appreciate you coming along for this in-depth exploration of the paradox of conclusion. We have examined attraction and emotional independence, and how valuing your own path and displaying balanced indifference may make you irresistible, not through tricks or gimmicks, but by exhibiting true confidence and self-respect. Remember that genuine attraction begins when you're content with your life, and she realizes that your happiness is independent of her approval. If this realization resonated with you, don't forget to give this video a positive rating and leave a comment below. Please share your thoughts on striking this balance, and if you want to learn more, watch the suggested films on the screen that go deeper into relationship dynamics and self-mastery. Until then, keep putting your own development first. Remain grounded and keep in mind that your worth originates within. I'll see you in the future video.